Hey y'all, welcome back. So for today's video, I want to talk about the new Rochelle Goyle collector doll from Monster High. I actually didn't plan on making this video. It was a request from one of you guys on Instagram, and the more I thought about it, the more feelings I had, and the more I felt like I didn't actually get all of my feelings out on Instagram and TikTok in like my short form content. So here we are, making a more long form video about all of the things that I think about this doll, most of which are kind of negative. I know this is coming off of my Monster High like webisode review video, which was also ironically a negative Monster High video, so I am sorry. Like I said, I didn't plan that. I'm not trying to keep the mood down, but this is just what they're presenting me with, so this is what I'm making. But yeah, so the Rochelle Goyle collector doll actually is launching the day that this video is going to go up, on Friday. I think that she was available yesterday on Thursday for fan club members, but everyone can buy her as of today, so I guess if you decided that you wanted to buy her, let me know if you were able to in the comments down below, or let me know if you are still thinking about it or anything like that. But I didn't try to get her, and I just have a lot of feelings, so yeah, that's what this video is going to be about. As per usual, these are just my opinions. I'm going to be saying a lot of negative things about this doll, so if you do feel positively about her, I promise it's not an attack against you. This is just my opinion, and if we differ in opinions, that's totally cool. But I guess let's get into it. I don't even know how to structure this video because I have so many thoughts, and I'm like, they're all just whirling around in my head. I don't even know where to start. I guess the best place to start is kind of with the concept for this doll. So in case you guys weren't aware, Monster High a while ago was doing a Fang Vote where they had their fans vote on different aspects of a new collector doll. So fans voted for it to be Rochelle as a character, and then they voted on her hair, her makeup, and her accessories. And then we got a full like concept art of what the doll would look like with all of the choices that the fans voted on. So we did know that this was coming for a while, so when I got the email saying that the doll was coming out, I wasn't super surprised. Mostly I was just curious to see what she would actually look like in doll form. And I guess the best way for me to go about this is to kind of run you through my entire thought process. So I open up the email, I click the link, I see the doll, and you know, I'll have a picture on here on screen so you can take a look at her. She's okay. That was my initial response, right? It's like, she's not the worst thing I've ever seen. I think Rochelle dolls in general are pretty. I tend to like her color scheme. I like her character. Like, she's cute, you know? So I'm looking at it and it's like, it's not my favorite thing I've ever seen, but I know that it's a limited run and it's not something that in 3 months I can be like, actually, you know what? I did really, really want that doll and I'm sad I didn't buy her. So I was considering her. I was like, you know what, maybe I'll buy her even if I end up redressing her a little bit. I think I like enough of her to merit me purchasing her. Then I scrolled down a little bit and I saw the price. And that is perhaps the biggest issue to me. At least it was the first issue I noticed and the one that made me the most immediately angry, because she is $90 in the US, which is just so beyond unreasonable on so many levels. The Haunt Couture dolls were all like $75. We've had a couple of collector Monster High dolls that were lower than that. Most recently, the Ghoulia collector doll came out and she was $50. You did have to buy the fan club membership to purchase her. So technically speaking, with that membership price included, she was $60. But 60 is still less than 90, and then that's not even including the fact that you're going to have to pay taxes on that and pay shipping on that. So this Rochelle doll is easily over $100 in the US, and that's just the price in American dollars. I'm not sure what it is in euros, but it's a little bit more expensive. And then I know I've seen a few people comment that in Canada it's 135 Canadian dollars, which is just even worse. So the price, no matter which way you slice it, I think the price is absolutely ridiculous. $90 is way too much. And so that's what got me started being a little bit upset about this doll, and that immediately made me decide that, yeah, there's no way I'm going to buy her, because I'm not spending $90 on a doll that I was like iffy about anyway. And then from that moment, the more that I looked at her, the more problems I had with her, and it's just low-key kind of infuriating. I do have all the pictures that I'll be putting on screen on my phone, so I'm like looking at those so that I can know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so after the price came out, after more people started posting about this, I saw this side-by-side comparison by Peachy Reviews on Instagram of the doll versus the concept art, and that was the moment that I was able to pinpoint exactly what felt off about her design. Because like I said, I was kind of considering her, but I wasn't completely sold on her upon seeing the stock images, and this side-by-side comparison like clicked in my head and it was like, that's what's wrong. That was what was throwing me off. The art, the concept art, is this beautiful pastel color scheme with the very light blue and like this baby pink, and it looks very Rochelle. I feel like I associate Rochelle with more pastel color schemes, and you know, it looks pretty, it's nice. I like the colors. We're gonna get into the actual design in a minute. But the colors are the first thing that I noticed, and again, that's when it clicked in my head that that was what was like dissonant for me, that didn't quite match up with the stock photos. Look how bright the pink is in the stock photos. It's so bright. I literally said to my husband that this doll was supposed to get pastel pink and instead she got Barbie pink. It's way too bright. I think the hair is like a little bit bright, but I almost think that that's normal for Rochelle. I feel like Rochelle's hair on her dolls has always been a little bit brighter than in like her art, but the foil on the dress is what really gets me. First of all, the metallic I think brings even more attention to it. So like it being the wrong pink is exaggerated by the fact that it's foil, so it's shiny, it's metallic, and it's so bright. This is literally hot pink instead of pastel pink. And it just looks so much worse. Like when you compare the two, again, this side by side is when it becomes really clear, at least to me, how bad the color scheme is on the doll versus the concept art. Because the concept art looks soft and dainty and beautiful and whimsical. And I just think that the hot pink with everything else going on with the actual doll is really bad. Again, I'm sorry if you like this. You are absolutely more than allowed to feel happy about this doll. And if you do find joy in this, I'm extremely excited for you. I just don't. I think that it's kind of rough. And so after that, I was like kind of getting more critical and kind of diving more into it. And it literally just keeps getting worse. Like, at least for me, it just kept getting worse the more that I looked at her. I want to talk first about the things that we were allowed to decide on, and then we will touch on the dress. Because you may have noticed when I did like the Fang Vote recap, I mentioned the hair, the makeup, and the accessories. Oh, and the shoes. I completely forgot the shoes. We got that too. But we were not allowed to pick the dress, which is arguably one of the biggest design points of the doll. So like, that's kind of bizarre. So I guess let's start with the hair, because I do think the hair is kind of the least problematic out of all of these things. I know in the concept art it looks very wavy, like it's got a lot more body to it, a lot more curl to it, a lot more texture to it, and it just makes it a little bit more interesting, whereas on the doll itself it does look like mostly straight with just a slight wave to it. I do understand that it can be hard to get doll hair to behave, and like you might not have a perfect comparison between the concept art and the doll when it comes to the level of curl. Like I get it, but I do feel like I have to point it out. The hair is not my biggest complaint at all. I've seen some people talking about it, so again, I wanted to like acknowledge that it's not quite what we thought we were going to get. But I do think that the hair is the least egregious issue, so we're just starting off light and kind of getting further into the deep end as we go. Then we get into the accessories, and I think that part of this is just that it's hard to imagine on a doll, because when we were voting for the accessories, you just saw like a little drawing of only the accessories. Like it wasn't even on Rochelle's head, it was just like floating accessories, you know? I'll put the picture up here so you do know what I'm talking about. But I think that that made it harder to imagine what it was going to look like, and I think that the headpiece and the earrings together just looks really not super, because of the fact that Rochelle is a gargoyle, so her ears are kind of more towards the top of her head instead of being more on the side of her head. So the earrings just blend into the headpiece. Honestly, at first, I thought it was all one piece. Like, I forgot that the earrings were separate, and I honestly thought that this was all one piece because it just blurs together, and I think it becomes a lot. I think that the headpiece might look cute on her if the earrings weren't right next to it, because the earrings are like a different shape, so it kind of makes it a little bit less cohesive. It makes it wider. It's just a lot, and I honestly do think that without the earrings, this would look a lot cuter. But again, I think that that was something that's hard to kind of visualize for people who are voting, because you're not necessarily thinking, oh yeah, this is exactly where the placement of her ears are, and this is how it's going to look all together. When you see it just floating, the earrings and the headpiece, you're like, oh yeah, earrings and a headband, like that's cute. And then when you see it on the doll, it's kind of disappointing. Again, that's just my opinion. So I think it would have been nice if for the voting period, they would have drawn it on like a head, like so you could see what it would look like all together instead of just this floating image. I think it would have been more clear what the design was going to look like, and honestly, maybe would have meant that people didn't vote for that, because I think a lot of people are kind of disappointed with how this looks. And then the second part of her accessories is her bag. I do think that the chain detail of like the strap is very cute. I appreciate the chain detail, especially for $70. I would really hope that the bag has a chain. The bag is okay. I don't think that it's the worst thing out of all of the problems that we're going to be talking about today. I think the biggest issue is just the color, again, is a lot brighter than the pastel pink that I think people were expecting and that I was definitely expecting. It's very hot pink. It's more of like a Draculaura pink, or again, like a Barbie pink, than it is a Rochelle pink. So that's disappointing. But I still think that the stripes in the dress are like the worst part of the color being off. But yeah, the bag is also not perfect. And then it comes to the shoes, which is so funny because like the Fang Vote happened a little bit ago, and also I'm just forgetful sometimes, so I honestly forgot what the sketch for the shoes looked like. So when I saw the stock photo of the shoes, I was kind of excited, and arguably these were like one of my favorite parts of the actual doll, because I love the stained glass window being like the heel of the shoes. I think that is so fun and so pretty. So I actually really liked these shoes upon seeing the stock photo, until I was reminded of what the shoes were supposed to look like based on the drawing, and they literally almost inverted the colors, which is just, that's a big change. Like, that's a huge change to be making to the shoes, and now when I compare the drawing to the actual shoes, now I'm disappointed. Like, it was good up until I remembered what it was supposed to be. Then it was like, why? Why would you take this design that people voted on and literally invert the colors? It just doesn't make sense. Lastly is the makeup, which technically got voted on in the same category as the hair, but I just wanted to talk about it separately because I do think that the makeup is worse than the hair. I will say that I like the makeup. It's very similar to the shoes, and that when I saw the stock photos, it was one of my favorite parts of the design. But then when I saw what it was supposed to be, it was like, we kind of got a cheap version of what it was meant to be. I love the black lipstick. I think that that's really fun. It's very striking on Rochelle. I think the colors are very pretty for her. But when you look at the design of the makeup, it's supposed to be a lot more vibrant to me, especially in the blush. I know a lot of people have been pointing that out, but the blush is the big thing because she's supposed to have this super bright pink, again, kind of the baby pink that she's missing all throughout her design, and have very heavy blush. And she has basically no blush. Like, there's a tiny, tiny bit, but it's nothing like the makeup that was drawn for the vote. And so I think the theme here is that a lot of things that people voted on, either because of the way they were drawn in the vote or the way that they decided to translate them from vote to doll, they look so different. And it's like, at that point, why did you have the fans vote on this if you weren't gonna do that anyway? Like, why did you have the fans vote on makeup with heavy blush if you were gonna nix the blush? Why did you have the fans vote on shoes that are gray with teal bows if you're gonna make them teal with black bows? Like, what was the point of having fans vote on anything if you're just gonna change it anyway? It was supposed to be a situation where the Fang Vote dictated the design of the doll so that the fans helped create this doll. And yes, that is still true to an extent, but if you change the things that the fans voted on, did the fans really design the doll at all? It's really disappointing and really sad to me, because it literally is a situation where we are putting forth the effort for Monster High, right? Like, I know that they had to come up with 2 designs for us to pick from, but we're literally saying, yeah, go with this one. Like, we're doing the choosing. We are taking that responsibility off the table, and then they can't even go along with it. So why bother? I just don't get it. And that brings us to the dress, which again is the part that we didn't actually get to vote on, which seems so silly to me because, again, it's kind of a big deal. It's kind of like one of the main elements of the doll's design is the whole dress, and we didn't get to vote on it at all. And I know that a lot of people have said that they don't love the dress. That's like maybe the thing that I see is most commonly cited as the reason people don't want this doll is because they don't like the dress. And it's like, maybe if we were allowed to vote on it, this wouldn't have been the doll. But it doesn't even matter, because if we were allowed to vote on it, who's to say that it would have actually turned out the way that people voted? Anyway, so we did not get to vote on the dress. I know a lot of people were disappointed that it's a mermaid dress, just because we've been seeing a lot of mermaid dresses on collector dolls in the last few years. I get it. I think that if it's done well, I can still enjoy a mermaid dress, but I do understand that it's kind of becoming a normal for the silhouette, and it's kind of becoming less exciting. It's just a little bit disappointing. I think there's a lot going on with the dress, and that's my biggest issue. Looking at like the actual doll, I do think the top half is easily the best half of the dress. I think that that's really cool. I do like the idea of the kind of plastic cage going around the like actual dress. I think that that could be interesting. But the bottom half is where you lose me. Aside from the color, I'm gonna like lighten up on the color for a second here. I think that the ruffles are too much. Especially like the top two stripes of ruffles. I think it's just a lot happening. And then under the dress, I think it's a whole bodysuit, judging by like the leggings that are peeking out and the stock image of the shoes. And the bodysuit is really interesting. So it's like, I kind of wish we could see more of that instead of having so much dress. But on the flip side, the way that the leggings land right above the shoes, to me, doesn't look very good. It's just not super flattering. I think it would have been nicer if it were a shorter bodysuit and kind of like ended mid-hip. Again, it's like the underlayer that you can hardly see, so it doesn't really matter. But I just think that if it didn't peek out like that right over the shoes and kind of end very awkwardly, it would look better. I don't know, it's a thing. The other thing with the dress, though, is that based on the concept art, the dress was supposed to be floor length and like basically cover the shoes. The bottom panel was supposed to be kind of transparent so you could still see the shoes, but it's supposed to be a floor length gown. And in the stock photo, yeah, technically it's a little bit short. I think the issue is that the transparent panel is so transparent that it no longer really looks like a floor length gown. Like it looks like it ends just above her ankle, which is a really weird placement. Like it just looks odd. And then the other thing people have complained about is that they would have liked a shorter dress to go with the shoes, because if people are picking these really cool shoes, what's the point if the dress is just going to cover them? I feel like any way you look at it, the dress is a big issue with the other elements, which again harkens back to the thing of it would have been cool if we could vote on it, because it just doesn't necessarily look like it goes together, again, at least in my opinion, with the other elements that people voted on. I think that if you're going to have a dress that is floor length, maybe don't do super extravagant shoes, because it doesn't matter, and at that point you're spending so much money designing these shoes that people can barely even see. Or if you're going to have really cool shoes, don't pair them with leggings that end really awkwardly right above the shoe, and maybe put on a shorter dress so that you can actually see the cool shoes. I don't know. Bigger issue though, I know I keep saying that, but it literally does just keep getting worse, is the gloves. I'm tying this in with the dress because the gloves weren't part of like the accessories that we voted on. They were just revealed when the final concept art was revealed with the dress. But in that concept art, she has these fingerless gloves on that are this light blue with a little bit of black trim. They're very cute, and they are very, very noticeably absent on the actual doll, which is frustrating because I feel like we've talked so much about the design that I kind of need to remind you, this is a $90 doll. And we got gloves in the concept art, but we can't get the gloves on the actual doll. Like, for $90, you'd think that they could throw in some fingerless gloves. It's very frustrating. It's very disappointing because I do think that the gloves were super cute. I think that they match Rochelle's aesthetic very well. I don't know if it would have saved the look if everything else was still going to be wrong, but it would have been nice to see, especially just on a quality level, because again, if you're paying $90, like, that extra piece of fabric is going to mean something. It's just overall really sad. And again, it's the more that I look at this doll, the worse I feel about her. And that's not how I want to feel about any doll, but especially a Monster High doll, because I love Monster High, but this is just so disappointing. I don't understand why this happened. One other, I ironic note that I want to put in here is that the description on the Mattel Creations website in her product listing specifically says that she has like super nice packaging, which presumably is adding to the cost, which I think is ridiculous because like I get that you might want to have a nice box. I understand it. But the Haunt Couture dolls also had nice boxes and they were $75. So like, what kind of box justifies that kind of price hike? Like, what kind of box is $15 nicer? You know? It's just a little bizarre. But the weirdest part is that, at least as of time of filming, we actually haven't seen the box at all. Like, we have no product pictures of the box. Which, like, it's not important in the sense that, obviously, if you're buying the doll, you're probably buying it for the doll, not for the box. But I do think it's weird to specifically mention the nice packaging in the description and to have this doll have such a big price hike and to not even show what her box looks like. Like, it's just, it's kind of weird to me, right? Like, I can't be the only one feeling that way, that it's a little skeevy that they're advertising this exclusive packaging but not showing it off. It's like, to me, it reads like they know that it's not actually going to be worth it. So they want to put it in the description to try to make it sound like that makes the doll worth $90, but like they know it doesn't, so they can't show a photo of it. I don't know. I have to breathe. I just genuinely don't understand any of it. From the fact that they made it a Fang Vote so that the fandom could collaborate and kind of vote on what this doll was going to look like, but then they changed it up, to the fact that they didn't let us vote on one of the most important aspects of the doll's design, to the fact that they are charging such a ridiculous price point for this doll. It's just very frustrating and it's very sad. And I saw a few people comment on my TikTok video that I made about this, that it's kind of ironic for them to make a like fan-based doll, a doll that is supposed to be by the fans for the fans, and then not only change the designs that the fans wanted, but also make her more inaccessible to more people because of the price hike. What part of that is catering to your fans, really? Like, it's not catering to them in the sense that they get to feel like they're a part of something anymore, because you changed the designs that they voted for, and then also didn't let anyone vote on the dress. So really, it's not like the fans were super a part of the design process anyway after seeing the full product, which is really sad and really disappointing and honestly kind of hurtful. Like, don't involve the fandom if you don't want to listen to the fandom, you know? And then to also make it like, hey, you guys helped design this doll, we're gonna make her our, I think, most expensive doll to date. Because I don't think any other single doll has been $90 from Monster High yet. I know that the Frankenstein 2-pack was $90, but that was a 2-pack. So like, hey, this is a doll for the fans, designed by the fans, but we're gonna make it really hard for fans to buy her because she's even more expensive than our already overpriced collector dolls. I'm just really sad and really frustrated. And I don't know what's happening with Monster High. I feel like whenever I talk about G3, I literally just did a couple of Ultimate Secrets unboxings, and they were glowing reviews. I love those dolls. They were so fun, so beautiful, the quality was good. I feel like for what you get, the price point was totally acceptable. I loved those. Like, I almost had no negatives in those reviews. So to go from that, talking about G3, and then to switch over to their collector dolls, and it's literally just been disappointment after disappointment. I don't think I have ever made a 100% positive video about a Monster High collector doll. I bought Haunt Couture Cleo secondhand, so I did a review on her and I was very excited to have her, but I still talked about the fact that I didn't think she was worth the $75 price point. So like, why would Rochelle be worth the $90 price point? I just don't understand how one brand, I know that there's two kind of branches, like there's the G3 dolls and then the G1 alumni dolls, but I don't understand how one brand can be producing things that are evoking such drastically different responses. Like, I understand that some people don't like G3, and that is absolutely your prerogative if you don't enjoy it, but I at least feel like the value that you're getting for your dollar is good. They aren't distributed well, I know that, but at least like the designs are nice, the quality that I've gotten is nice, and then the alumni dolls, which are allegedly for collectors who have been fans of Monster High for a really long time, who have supported the brand for a really long time. It just feels like insult after insult after insult. And I'm sad. So This is another video where I'm like, I can't be like, oh, I hope you enjoy the video because it's such a bummer. But I feel like it does need to be talked about. So yeah, that's what we did today. Sorry if this was a sad one, guys. I don't mean to be bringing you like negative content. Again, like I definitely did not expect to release 2 kind of negative Monster High videos in a row. But this is just a rough one, and I keep looking forward to new Monster High collector dolls. Like I keep thinking, oh, like the next one will be really cool or really fun. And there's always a problem, and it's just really disappointing. So yeah, those are my feelings on it. Again, sorry this was a downer, but I would love to hear your thoughts and your opinions on this, Rochelle, in the comments down below, and like the whole situation with the Monster High collector dolls, because it's weird, right? Like, it's weird. Every decision that they make regarding the G1 alumni dolls just feels so bizarre, so I would love to hear your opinions on it. I do hope that even if this wasn't a happy video, it was one that was, I guess, entertaining in a different way for you. I don't know. I hope in some way you enjoyed the fact that you spent X amount of minutes watching this. But I promise the next one will be happier. I don't care if I have to juggle around different videos. I will make sure that the next one is more positive so that we can have a little bit of a happier moment here on the channel. With that being said, though, I do hope you guys have a lovely rest of your day or your night or whatever it might be, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye, guys!